Hello and welcome to another episode of Arsenal Above All. Hallelujah, the international break is over. Jesus. We'll be returning to the big boy football this Saturday against the champions-elect Tottenham Hotspur. We'll be talking about that little kickabout in a few minutes, but we've got to start with our star boy, and that is Bukayo TM Saka. You've got to give the guy his full name, his flowers. And to help me with that tonight is my good man, James Football Johnston. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
I'm very good. Glad to have you on.
It's a pleasure to be on here. Pleasure.
No, thank you for having me on your show. So obviously return the favour and we'll move forward obviously together hopefully. But no, thanks for having you on. So let's crack on. So James, as you know, obviously Saka ever since he's burst onto the scene, he's been questioned by rival fans, let's say. There's always been Sancho versus Saka, Foden versus Saka, Mount versus Saka, blah, blah is clear and all that nonsense. But that cameo last night, as people don't know, that cameo last night, especially after getting the awards for the England Player of the Year, that 24 minutes cameo last night has just put all doubts and arguments to bed, hasn't it? Don't you think?
Well, yeah, it's amazing when you play a player in his natural position, just how good he actually is, isn't it? It's not rocket science. It was a bit like, when they all got really excited and giddy about Martinez against Liverpool when he had Varane with him instead of Maguire. I was like, well, no, if you take the person who's having an absolute howler in just general sense and put him with a World Cup winner and someone that's won everything at club level, he's going to instantly improve, isn't it? It's ridiculous. How can he get the award for England Player of the Year? Okay, that I can sort of go, I don't know how he's won that, but I'll take, whatever accolades we can get. Yeah, exactly. We'll take them. And look at him. He's absolutely loving life there, as he always does. Yeah. And it was a good little conference, weren't it, with all the kids in there?
Yeah, all the kids, brilliant.
Yeah, love it. Love him, to be honest. And he plays him at left. To play five at the back against the Italians of all people as well. It's just. I'm going to go ultra defensive against the blokes that are the masters of ultra defensive football. Okay, Gareth, you crack on. Just ridiculous. But like you said, the big boy football's back, and he is literally the big boy footballer in our team, and he's one of the youngest. We've spoke about it on Purely for months, haven't we? Since he's actually come in, and we're like, he's our best big game player now, and he's what 20?
Yeah,
21,
crazy.
Whatever he is. Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is mad.
You just hope that obviously Touchwood, obviously he's got a good run of games now with us. Obviously in October, the horrendous schedule that's going to come up for everybody. But you just hope that when he goes there, which he obviously is going to go there, he's going to be the first one, in that departure lounge. That what kind of state is he going to be like in when he returns? Because we've seen the way Southgate's used him over ever since he's been part of it. He literally plays him, always gives him so many minutes. When you compare him to other players, Liverpool players and Chelsea players, they seem to get treated a little bit better. Oh, we'll pull you out of this game. The only person that seems to play all the games is Kane. But I'm a little concerned in the way he may use him in Qatar, especially with that heat and the demand he might put on him. So physically, mentally, I'm not really worried because the kids.
Same.
The kid's so mentally strong with what he's had to do to break into the team at the age he did, and obviously what happened to him after the Euros. So his mental side is spot on, but just the physical side.
That's in the veins, Michael.
Obviously, we've had worries about his physical side, the amount of games that he's played under Arteta, and getting someone in to help him out. So, are you worried about if he goes to Qatar in that heat and everything, what kind of state he's going to be in when he comes back in December?
I'm worried about all of our players that are potentially going out there, mate. To be honest, it's just a silly time, isn't it? It really is. But no, I think if that doesn't, I can never confirm to you what I'd love to say to you, I know what Gareth Southgate's going to do before he does it, but I can't call what that man's going to do. All I know is he'll put Maguire in there, regardless of what's going on. He'll always play him. regardless. I know that for a fact. But with Saka, yeah, if that doesn't confirm to him that you need this lad to start as your right wide player in your front three, then I don't know what will, Michael. I really don't.
Yeah.
And it is like we've always said, I do worry about that burnout for the boy. He's played so many games, and we've seen it with Michael Owen before us. And I'm not trying to compare them in terms of goals and everything else like that,
Yeah.
but the quality is for all to see. I think you are completely deluded if you don't think that he's there was still that, oh yeah, he's got all these assists, but when the country needed him most, he let us down. And I'm like, well, your legend or whatever you want to call him, he didn't square it to Sterling. And when's he stepped up really when it matters most? There's a lot of we could all say it about everybody else's players. Really, it can go around in circles. But no, I've got slight concerns. But I think, like you said earlier, mentality-wise, for someone so young, there's a lot of talk about, when Liverpool were at the peak a couple of years back, and I know they're having but everyone kept calling them mentality monsters, didn't they? Yeah. I think if there's anyone that's a mentality monster in terms of our squad, it's this lad.
Yeah.
He goes to Chelsea, and okay, it weren't Chelsea. This is when they barely had anybody there, but it was still enough. And they're all giving it, you let your country down, and you could hear some of the old classic chanting that you get at Chelsea, sadly.
Yeah.
And he still takes a penalty and scores it right in front of their main end.
Yeah.
I'm like, the guy's levels, and he's like we said earlier, 20? I always forget. Is he 20, 21? I can't even.
He's 21, I think.
Yeah. I forget.
But not 22. Not 22 yet.
No. But I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, do you know what? His rise has been so quick. It feels like ages ago, doesn't it? Because you're so used to him being in our squad.
Yeah.
But it isn't that long. It's only 4 years, really.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it's been mental, really. I mean, again, he's gone through so much, obviously, and I just think what he's done, what he did the other night was just he's just cemented everything. No one, people are talking about him. He obviously is going to be the first one down on that team sheet. God willing, he's fit and everything, but he will definitely start against Iran. It's just what type of Saka are we going to get on the way out physically? Because again, like you, it's just mental. The whole playing the World Cup over there in the first place, in that heat, and even if it's been moved to their winter or whatever, it's just insane. But another thing, I mean, as well, James, it's something that's going to keep coming up as long as we haven't had any confirmation, but are you not worried at all about his contract situation and I should say that Saliba's as well, because that's obviously the two that and Martinelli. But are you concerned? I mean, I know they're saying all the right things at the moment. It's almost like the way it happened the first time around when he signed his extension. But are you concerned, or you think it's just a matter of time?
Again, I was. But then Neil told me that all of them are going to sign, and I'm like, Neil don't lie to me. If he has lied, then it's 3 big players to have a go at him about. So no, hopefully Neil's record of not telling lies is correct. No, I think they'll all sign because the money's going to go up, and I think potentially they're going to throw clauses in there because. Unless we start, I mean, we're top of the league at the moment, so as long as we're winning things, I think they'll all be happy. But I think the way that the clubs are moving, he could be what I look at Mahrez and I look at Bernardo Silva, and I both don't think they're going to be at City much longer. And he's the right type of player for, if he does well for Arteta, then Pep's going to take him, and Pep will love to have him. Especially if he stays there, but you never know. This kid's that good. He could be like a Steve McManaman, mate. He could go to around. Real Madrid are looking at potentially tapping up Bellingham. I mean, blimey, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and Bellingham in a 3. I'm like, I thought Kroos, Modric, and Casemiro were good for as long as I'm like them 3 in a 3. Blimey, I'm like, I don't want to come up against them. And you could, if you've got that Vinicius and Valverde or a Saka, and Benzema seems to be a fountain of youth. He seems to get better as he gets older.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah,
he could go. That kid could go anywhere.
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
talent that he's got at his disposal. Hopefully he doesn't. I want him to stay with us for the rest of his
No,
life. But...
no. David James is already trying to tap him up for City. Apparently today,
No,
yesterday he was
David
talking about
James,
him.
leave him alone.
He should go to City. But
Yeah,
but that's another thing. But obviously, touching on players and squads. I mean, we've obviously spoken through WhatsApp and what have you about the squad situation, and we've got a graphic here with the squad. Obviously, the formations aren't exactly where they should be, but having a look at that, obviously, I know what you're going to say. What position after what we've just discussed is screaming out? I mean, obviously, Marquinhos, he can obviously play on. He has featured on the right hand side, but um, what's screaming out for you? What we need? What we need to do, especially after post the World Cup in January. I mean, I'm sure that they must be trying to do something at the moment,
yeah.
or getting their irons in the fire for what they need to do in January, especially Edu and Garlic.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And the way that they've come out, and I actually do quite like some of the communication that comes out of the club now.
Yeah,
I know it can be very reserved, but when it
yeah,
does come out now, I trust it a lot more than I used to. I used to
yeah,
think a lot of it was a lot of waffle back in the day, Michael. I really did.
yeah,
But I think that they were looking for the two positions that we all want, which is that number 6
yeah,
type player and someone on Bukayo Saka's side, but they
yeah,
just couldn't get it over. I think they were like, we're not going to gamble on somebody. We want the ones that we believe are the right
yeah,
players.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if we have to wait for them, then we will wait for them. And a lot of people talk about this January window when it opens. I think it's going to just be like another summer window because it's right
yeah,
after a World Cup. I keep
yeah,
saying it. The World Cup is the shop window for footballers. It is literally
yeah,
blue water of footballers. Everywhere you turn, you're looking. Oh, he's doing well. He's doing well. You're just going to, and we'll definitely buy. All the other clubs are going to buy. We will definitely buy. I mean, I keep telling Jack that this Danilo lad, we've apparently looked at him now for nearly 2 years,
yeah,
and I think he wanted to complete the season with his. I know I should be clued up on this. I've forgotten what Brazilian club it actually is that he plays for, but I
yeah,
think he said I want to stay because they're in the is it Copa Libertadores or something. They're
yeah,
quite
yeah,
far
yeah,
into it,
yeah,
and he's like, can I win this with them, and then I'll join you type thing. He's like, can I complete this and then,
yeah,
and I think but that's the thing. I think he's only 20 years old. And I've said to other people as well, he's got to come in potentially, especially if parties hurt, and he's got to be like Saka has been. He's got to be
yeah,
so good straight off the bat because that position for us is absolutely key. And you're going
yeah,
to touch on the game at the weekend, and you need that position bad for that game. If there's
yeah,
one game where you need someone in that position that's going to be all action, it's
yeah,
Saturday. It
yeah.
really is Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, touching on that before we reach on that, I mean, obviously the fixtures are there below. I mean, that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
That's a list of fixtures for a whole month normally, but
Mm.
that's just the first couple of weeks. It's just
Yeah,
mental, and
it is.
kind of fortunate. I think obviously that we've got a few of them at home, and we seem to have obviously turned the place into a bit of a fortress. The unity between the players and the fans has been fantastic. I mean,
Mm.
I haven't been there in a couple of years, obviously, since I've left there, and definitely would like to go back if possible.
Yeah. You saw
But yeah,
signs of it last season, but
yeah,
I went to the Villa game, and I think it's always better under lights anyway. I think it
yeah,
always
yeah,
has
yeah,
been, even since
yeah,
we've moved there. Highbury was the same. I thought Highbury was better under lights.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and
mhm,
it's I will say it is excellent. I know the
yeah,
young lads, that Ashburton Army group, have done brilliant bits,
yeah. They've done
and
brilliant.
but yeah, I think it's been absolutely excellent, and the football on top to make it as that helps. But
Yeah,
I believe it's probably spurring them on, without pardon the phrase. But
can't believe you said that.
yeah,
But yeah,
pushing
I
them on,
mean,
egging them on. Oh, I'll change
yeah,
it.
but obviously, yeah. I mean, again, I think it's very important that we've got obviously the game against them at home, which sort of sets the ball rolling, and hopefully we can catch obviously Liverpool a bit cold as well. I mean, they are getting their players back. Obviously, Jota seems like he's getting back form. But if Nunes is still hitting the corner flag, then I think we should be all right with his shots, which he's shown before. But yeah, so what we'll do obviously next is we're going to talk about the big one, and we'll have a look at a couple of lineups that me and yourself have come up with, and we'll talk why we think those
I've got them
teams.
so wrong now, but yeah.
You can't get out of it now, mate.
No, I know.
We'll discuss it just after this. So James, we'll have a look at your one first. Well, your team first, I should say. Okay, anything else? So that's what you would like to see take shape.
These graphics are superb, by the way. Much better than what I do. Much better than what I do. These are great.
Playing the midnight oil, mate. But yeah. So So what's your reasonings behind this lineup? It's pretty much obviously the lineup we've started with, and against Palace, I believe, and yeah. So what's your thoughts behind that?
Yeah, for me, obviously, there's some reservations with a few of the players that are in there now, fitness-wise.
Yeah.
But like you just said, that's been the main team that we've gone with all season. All the best performances. I would say, actually, the best performance was Brentford, wasn't it, in terms of a full 90 minutes? And that was Tierney instead of Zinchenko. And obviously, it wasn't Odegaard, it was Vieira. But I think that's our best side. And I think against them, you've got to play your best team. And for me, that's all of them that are there at the moment. But there is going to be questions, I think. If I'll see what your team is, and then hopefully we got room for debate there.
I'll show you my team. Pretty much the same, obviously going forward. But I've gone with Tierney and I've gone with Tomiyasu. And the reason I've gone for Tomiyasu is that's not a slight on Ben White at all. He's been superb. I just think, Tomiyasu, especially with what he said, he's come out with in the international break about not being happy and knowing what is required to play in the team. So he wants to fight. I mean, typical media, they tried to do it as a negative slant, but it was just basically a guy saying, I want to fight for my place and I know what I need to do to get there. I think if he's that hungry and he's got the bit between his teeth, I think him matching up with Son, because we know, Kane always scores against us, but Son's got a good record, just as good as record as well. And it's just the damage that the guy causes, when he gets the ball. And I think if you just match up with him, at least with someone, I think if he'd played on the right-hand side when we played at White Hart Lane last season, when in that big game, I think maybe Holding doesn't feel so isolated.
100%, mate.
And why he has to make those decisions. So I think maybe I would go with him because he's played for Japan. He seems like there's been no issues. I think he's played centre back there for them for their couple of games. And I would go with him just as a matchup for Tomiyasu. And it's a squad game, mate. And this month, he's got to utilise the squad, and they've all got to understand, they've not been in a situation like this. And they've not had to deal with a tournament right in the middle of the season. So I'm sure if he did make that decision, he'd be disappointed to miss a game, right? But I think he realised and look at the bigger picture, that it's going to be a squad game and everyone has to chip in and like horses for courses almost. But again, if White starts, I've got no problem with him. I think he's capable to stand up to it. He is quick along the ground. I just think Tomiyasu will probably be the better shout defensively. And the same with Tierney. I think Zinchenko, we know what he brings to the table. Technically, he's unbelievable. But I think Tierney, his performance against Brentford sort of went under the radar. I thought he was brilliant against them.
Yeah, so did I.
I noticed he was tucking in a lot more. He was doing that inverted stuff, and he looked really comfortable doing it. So I know compared to the last time he did it, I think it was against Zurich.
Yeah,
he looks a bit of fish out of water a little bit, but I think he was really, really solid against Brentford, and it looked like he was adapting to that role well. But I just think it's defensively again. We know what they're about. It's that attack, it's that transition, and I think if you've got people, with that that's their initial thing. They both can do things the other way. We know that, but I just think in this instance, I think the front four deal with things themselves. I think we're going to turn them over, good and proper. That's my shout. I think we
Love
beat
it.
them convincingly.
Love it. Love it.
I think we do because again, two of them have not gone anywhere. They've been at London Colney for the last couple of weeks. Odegaard's just come back into it. Obviously, Saka's buzzing off his performance. I think we're going to rip a new one.
Oh,
but
please.
but that would be my shout. I mean, I don't know what you think of that.
I think you're probably, right now on the Tierney one. I think, like I said earlier, I had a bit of a conversation with Jack from Purely about this as well, and he sort of changed my mind on it. And but I think the Tomiyasu, I think he's going to want White because he's the progression.
Yeah.
Because just as much if they come to us and you can keep it, their wing backs are they're going on about Perisic like he's the second coming of Christ. He ain't gonna cope with Saka, and if it's Royale against Martinelli, mate, good night Vienna. He'll skin him, all day, every day. I don't worry about that side of things. It's just that midfield. You just got to shut that mid. That's why Partey for me. So if he is, there was a rumor that apparently he come back. He done a check and they said we don't need to scan it, but they're monitoring the knee. So the fact that I go to Jack because he's the medical. I said, Jack, if they haven't had to scan it, how good is this? And he's like, oh, James, I don't know. Because he said, I don't want another one where Mikel Arteta's pushing him back again when he's trying to come off because he can't hack it. I'm like, yeah. But for me, it's a game you can't do experiments in. I like Lukonga. But I don't think him as a 6 in a game of this magnitude. Maybe he gets in there and he loves it. You just never know. But I don't see it. I from what I've seen already, I don't see it. I think he's more of a very good kind of deep lying playmaker. I've got no question about his on the ball ability. Yeah. But you know how I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think of the word and how you pronounce it. Is it autonomous? Autonomous?
Yeah, autonomous. Yeah.
That Partey did against Brentford.
Yeah.
Again, you say about things going under the radar. He just did all the all the stuff that goes underappreciated and just helped the others play the game that they need to play.
Yeah.
And like you said, if we're going to smash them like that, for me, he needs to be in there. He's so key to it. Key to it. I would be very reluctant to think how good the game's going to go if he's not in the squad. I'd be very much like, I'm going to think differently about how this game's going to go now if he's not in there. I would say that's, for me, he's that key.
Yeah, he's key.
But no, I do think you could be right at Tierney coming back in. I mean, his was a head injury concussion protocol, so he should be cleared. I don't think there's anything. Scotland are playing Ukraine at the moment, and he's not even in the team whatsoever because it's the protocol. Okay. So I've got no worries about him there with anything like
he's
that.
Another player that, he seems to be treated pretty rough, roughshod by the coach, like Saka was with Southgate. Clark just seems to just run him into the ground, really. And Robertson just has a nice little breather, like has his feet up for a week or two, and then.
I think a bit like what Saka is. He's just a great lad, and he'll go out there, even if he's not 100%. He'll go out there.
Yeah,
he's that determined just to play either for club or country. I mean, before he even properly had the games for Arsenal, we did that podcast, didn't he, with the Celtic? Like it was like fans, and he said that I had Scott Brown and Neil Lennon telling me, get the injections, boy, you're playing. And he's like, what? And they're like, you're playing. Don't care. So he's, he knows there's a pain barrier, but he walks through it, doesn't he? Bless him. He'll be up for it as well. I mean, he's played in old firms, so he'll be up for an awful
I think we will. I think we will be up for it. And
so do I.
What happened?
I think the atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric. And even though it's an early, and they're worried about the trains and everything.
Yeah.
They'll
It'd be
find
bad.
a
It'd
way.
be bad
For a game like that, people will find a way to get there. Don't you worry. They'll all be
yeah,
coming on them scooters, mate, won't
you
they?
know, you know
They'll
it.
just be like the Hell's Angels just lined up outside.
Yeah, you know it, mate. So I was just trying to bring something up there, just a bit of the stats. I'm a bit all over the place tonight. Uh, I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, I was just looking at the stats, and the worry is the amount of penalties that they seem to get. You know, it's just pretty mental. Hang on a sec. Let me try. Let me try it this way.
And it's
Just take that
Taylor
off.
as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the worry for me is the penalties. The one thing is that they have Kane hasn't had a penalty this season so far. He obviously had one the other night for England, but I mean that's pretty mad in terms of the penalties won in North London derbies, isn't it? It's just crazy,
It is mental.
and you just worry that obviously with Taylor and want to try and even. That's why I think if we do what we did last game, we just blow them away and kind of put it to bed. Because what a lot of people forget is, we played really well for like 35 minutes, 40 minutes in that game, and then we really did drop off. I think we really dropped off, and obviously they scored with about 10 minutes to go, but Ramsdale pulled off a couple of fantastic saves to keep us in it. So that for me was like, great. Obviously, great. We turned them over, but when you look at it in the cold light of day, we really sort of, if we hadn't had that start or that we had them, it could have been a little bit more dicier. But no, I'm what you confident we're going to win, or what's your?
No, I actually am still. I mean, I predicted a 3-1, so I'm quietly confident. I've watched them a bit this year because obviously with my channel I'm also doing the Premier League as well as Arsenal, and I'm like, I want to try and be as balanced as I can now. I used to go for it, just be biased, James, but I'm trying to be as balanced as I can be. And when I watch them, they are one of the most predictable sides in the league, without trying to sound dismissive of them, but they're very good at it.
Yeah,
that's the one thing they are excellent at, is being absolutely clinical when they need to be, and they get dominated. That Wolves game, Wolves should have slapped them by half time, but they couldn't. But that's the thing. Unlike them, we've got Jesus, Saka. We got people that can score the goals. I mean, Leicester were all over them for a
Leicester
period of time
as well. Yeah.
Forest had a good little run against them, but they had nobody that could stick the ball in the net. So that's the thing. They will let you have the ball and let you have the chances, but you just have to be like their front three is, which is clinical. You have to take them, because if they can get theirs early, they'll sit back on it. Like you said, if they go 1-0 up from a pen or something, and we've got to shut them down, we're going to struggle. I think if we do what we do and do it quick, then we can nullify them. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It could be like how the Brentford game was, if we do it that quick.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, mate. So we'll finish on just touching on the fallout from Ranieri having his debut, and obviously all the rubbish that's come out, and just your take on that, really, because I think again it's just proof that what we all know about what Granit Xhaka said last week. If Arsenal do something, it's just it's news. You didn't hear there was a kid that played that is the youngest player to ever play. I think he played in Ireland. I think he's 13 years old, who made his debut a couple of weeks before. Obviously, Arsenal and a club that's a non-league club, but I didn't hear anyone saying, "Oh, the manager's done it for ego." He's why are they doing that for, things like that. What's your thoughts on that? Because for me personally, it's just it's like after every game. I don't know. Do you watch a show called Family Guy?
Yeah.
Or what you heard of it? There was I always remember the scene. There was a scene in Family Guy. So a little bit random, but you'll understand what I'm saying. There's a scene in Family Guy where it's like these Fox executives, right? Fox are a great channel, aren't they? And they're sitting around a table and they're having a conference about, okay, what can we show in or to put people in a bad light. What can we do? And you've got all these, people saying, "Oh, let's do this, let's do that," and this big CEO, evil-looking CEO, and he's just saying, "No, that's not good enough. That's not evil enough." Then there's a guy that says, "You know what? Why don't we just, say something nice about them for a change? Because they haven't done anything wrong." Blah 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 blah. This guy gets up, walks over to the guy, picks up his laptop and smashes his head in with it, right? Because he's like, why are you talking like that for? And it's like, for me, after every Arsenal game, these people sit around a desk and they decide, right, pick out the pieces or the little bit of pieces that we can put the needle in on, and let's, just like put the, it's almost like those kids with a little bug, then they'll pull the leg or something like that. Like, what can we do to wind up the fan base, get a few clicks, get a few traction and everything like that? It just seems to me that's what these people in the media do, and it's almost like us against the media. It obviously it sort of happened with before, Arsene Wenger with George Graham and everything.
Yeah.
But it always seems to be popping his head up, celebrations, whatever it is. It's just always a little dig in there. And what's your what's your view on all of that? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
The first thing is that we're getting good again, and they don't like it.
Yeah.
They don't like Arsenal getting good.
Yeah.
Because it for whatever reason it ruins whatever they've got going on for whatever reason. Arsenal being good ruins their life. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But that in terms of is it I struggle to pronounce. Is it Nweri? Nweri, yeah. Way to ruin that kid's day. I mean, 15 years old. 15 years old. Could he not have just come? Could he not come on and enjoy his debut? Why has it got to be? Hopefully he's blocked it all out. I hope he has, because it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, there's people like Danny Mills. Danny Mills has got a young son that's playing the game now.
Yeah.
What if he makes his debut? What have we got to crap on it because you have then?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Danny Mills gets paid to talk about football is an insult in its own right. That's a different story for a different day, in my opinion. This is a guy that come out and said that Robert Pires introduced diving to English football. I'm like, okay, because I was like, I was born in '91 and I remember Jurgen Klinsmann in '95 and '96, but I thought Perez signed in 2000.
Celebrated with a dive as well.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, all right, okay. I don't remember that, but fair
ridiculous.
enough. Maybe my memory's gone a bit jarred, but and it was Cundy, just all of absolutely ridiculous. Even I had people going that he probably done it because he hasn't signed the contract, and I put in there, it could be some of that because he wants to show to him, like, if you stay with me, there's the pathway. But someone replied to me on Twitter and said, actually, you can't sign a contract till he's 16 anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yes, fair enough. Yeah, great point.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm like, he's clearly earned it. He's worked hard and earned it. And he thought, I'm 3-0 up. How many minutes was it? 4 or something minutes left to go?
4 minutes,
And he's like, if there's ever a time to do it, now's the time. And it's like, I'm going to reward him for how well he's done.
Yeah.
To get to, with the crisis that we had in terms of players, so he put him on the bench in the first place. And I had the whole thing about, there's other young players that are older than him that have worked hard and now probably seen a 15-year-old, and they're like, well, why should I work hard anymore if this? I'm sorry that the way that the club is at the moment, there seems to be, I said it earlier, autonomous, togetherness.
Yeah.
And I watched that Haaland documentary that they've done about all the kids. And there's bits where there's kids in there that didn't get their scholarships. And I think one of them ended up at Sutton. One of them ended up... All the coaches and all the players were so happy and like, you know what, I'm really sad you didn't make it. I think all the other young players have probably seen him and gone, bloody, do you know what, well done, mate. Well done. And if you can do it, then maybe they'll take... I don't think they'll look at a negative. I think they'll look at a positive and go, if he's picking a 15-year-old, then maybe there is a part... And like you said, all them fixtures that flashed up, they might not play in the league games.
Yeah,
but in those Europa ones,
I mean,
especially if we start doing well, you can bet it. We've only got to win. What is it? 3, the first 3 in that group, and then you can rest them for the other ones. Yeah.
I think 2 things is definitely one is the the substitutes now that you can make 5 substitutions.
Yeah.
I think it's not only going to be Arsenal going to be doing that. I think there's going to be other clubs that are going to be putting some of their academy boys or whatever on the bench at least. And then if they're in a situation where they're 3-0 up or coasting to a game, they'll do exactly the same thing. You know, I'm pretty sure. But what I would finally say about that is, all you have to do is look at this footage of the under-9s watching him make his debut at London Colgate, and they're watching it, and they're all jumping up and down and bouncing up.
Yeah.
And, you know, like you said, that's what it's all about.
I'll ask you this quick, Michael. Say another club play a 15-year-old that's younger than even him to break. Yeah. Do you reckon there'll be this much?
No, of course they won't.
Say I don't know. Say I don't know. I'm plucking them because they're easy. Man United.
Yeah.
Say they've got some 15-year-old that's like what they reckon the boy at Arsenal is, and Ten Hag plays him. Are we going to get Ten Hag's egotistical?
No, you won't.
Ten Hag. It's all about him. It's
not at all. Not at all.
Every manager's egotistical. And I know a lot of people think Mikel's got one bigger than others, especially with how that documentary present. When you watch a documentary, you either think he's a genius or you think he's a clown. It is a very, very there's not a big line there, mate, for people to think. I go more in the genius route. I think it's unconventional. Some of the stuff I have to go, I wouldn't do that. But I'm like, you eat it, you sleep it, you drink it.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to buy in. I'm buying back in after you had me out. I'm coming back round.
Yeah.
And I do not think he sat there and thought when he's bringing that boy on. Look at me! How good am I? How good? It's already what he thought. Like we've just said, I'm 3-0 up. If there's ever a time, do you know what? He's worked his socks off. You know, he said he didn't even know much about him. He got told from the youth coaches and Mertesacker how much of a great lad and he was like, he come in for a few sessions and he blew me away. Yeah, that was the phrase that I saw. Blew me away. And I think if you're at any work and your hard work gets rewarded, you've got to be proud.
That's all you can ask for.
What makes you prouder?
That's all you can ask for. But no, hopefully on that note, hopefully we'll get to see him over the next month. I'm sure we will in some capacity in one of the competitions.
Yeah, I say keep playing him, wind him up even more. Keep playing him.
And so hopefully, we'll see him a bit more, and obviously everyone will be behind him, the players, the fans, everyone. So I'd just like to say thanks, James, for coming on. We'll wrap the show up. Obviously, hopefully we both are positive and confident that we'll do the business Saturday lunchtime and have a good weekend after that.
You got a prediction there? What do you reckon?
I think it will be. I'll go 3-0. I'll go 3-0. I think there'll be a few goals, so maybe 3-1, but I'm going to be confident 3-0. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm 3-1 still. I'm sticking.
Yeah, 3-1 still. Yeah. So I'll go 3-0.
And Jack said 4-1. I don't know if you watched it. 4-1.
Yeah, I did. I'm still recovering from that.
Yeah, I know.
Hang on there. But no, thanks, James, for coming on. People follow and watch James's channel, JJ Football, and his Premier League prediction show as well. I'll be back hopefully next week. Might be coming back with 2 shows, obviously, because the games are coming thick and fast. Obviously, post the North London Derby, and then obviously post the Bodo Glimt game, possibly. So yes, thanks for watching. Thanks for all the likes and the subscribers and all the great comments that you've given me on the Twitter channel, on the Twitter account. Sorry, it's been really great. Really appreciate it, and hopefully, you'll like what's to come. I've been again Michael Harris, and he's been James Johnstone. And yes, let's do the business on Saturday and get those 3 points and keep the neighbours quiet.
You know who made it.